Hello and welcome back. I'm going to be going over a few thoughts and processes and generally, after a bit of playtesting, what I now think of Malthael and the build I use on him. So without any further ado, let's go over his tier 1 talents. You've got Death's Reach, which increases Race Strike's range by 33%. On a POW horse, gain an additional 20% movement speed while mounted, and Fear the Reaper. Activated to increase movement speed by 25% and pass through other units for 4 seconds. Now, out of these three, the two I tend to pick is Death's Reach and Fear the Reaper. However, I have noticed that with Fear the Reaper, despite having a 25% increase in movement speed, other characters, regardless of what they are, can still keep up with me and keep within striking distance, which is a bit weird for me. I mean, I'm meant to have a 25% increase in movement speed, so I should be able to get away from them, but I can still get wrecked. So generally speaking, because I've found Fear the Reaper to be rather inconsistent, I tend to go with Death's Reach, increasing Wraith Strike by 33%. At tier 2, as I've already said in a previous video, I'm going for a passive build, so I go with Black Harvest. You've also got Die Alone. Soul Rip deals 75% more damage if it only hits one hero. Throwing Shade. Quest. Hit 20 heroes with Death Shroud. Reward is permanently increased Death Shroud's range by 33% and reduces cooldown by 2 seconds. But as I've already said, I go with Black Harvest, which is another quest. Apply Reaper's Mark to heroes for a total of 150 seconds. The reward is permanently increased Death's Mark for a duration by 2 seconds. The tier 3 is Cold Hand. This is a Soul Rip ability. Slows enemies by 20% for 2.5 seconds. You've then got Mortality. When damaging any hero with Ray Strike, deals bonus damage equal to 4% of the hero's maximum health, and Touch of Death. Activated to reduce healing received by heroes affected by Reaper's Mark by 50% for 4 seconds. Now, with this, at this point, it depends on how I'm doing. If I'm able to pick targets off, or I'm able to get to the point of I can pick them off but they keep getting away, I tend to go with Soul Rip. However, if I find that the enemy team is sort of focusing me, I go with Mortality to increase my Wraith Strike effectively. At tier 10, for me, this is no brainer. Last Rite. I won't even go into Tormented Souls. Last Rite is the way forward. Tier 5, so level 13. You've got Soul Siphon, increase Soul Rip's bonus healing from heroes to 4% of the hero's maximum health. Ethereal Existence, gain 15 physical armor per enemy hero affected by Reaper's Mark, up to a maximum of 45. Inevitable End, activate to become unstoppable for 2 seconds but removes all active Reaper's Marks. And then you got Shroud of Wisdom. After 2 seconds, gain 50 spell armor for 4 seconds. Now again, it's a passive and it really does help, or at least I have found that it helps. I have gone with Ethereal Existence, so I can gain up to 45% physical armor. At tier 6, the level 16, you've got Soul Collector, reduce Soul Rip's cooldown by 0.5 seconds and increase its range by 50%. Massacre, which Ray Strike now damages and applies Reaper's Mark to enemies around its target. And Memento Mori, which is Reaper's Mark deals 100% increased damage after affecting an enemy for more than 4 seconds. Sorry, I stuttered a lot there. Which Memento Mori is the one I go for, so I'm basically trying to bolster my damage through Reaper's Mark. And for my level 20, this chops and changes depending on how I'm doing. If I'm getting enough kills with Last Rite, I go for Final Curtain. So Death Shroud leaves a trail in its wake for 4 seconds, applying Reaper's Marks to enemies in the area. Or, if I'm struggling with Last Rite, I pick Angel of Death. So last right heals for 100% of the damage dealt, which is good, and it increases his sustainability. However, it also has the added effect of its current and future cooldown reduction bonuses are double. So rather than having to get 12 kills with it, you've now only got to get 6. Right, on to Malthael himself. Right, Malthael is a very, very powerful frontline assassin. He has the ability to sustain himself through use of Soul Rip, although this is more effective the more marks you have, so I'd recommend trying to line up the minions and possible enemy heroes in the way of his Wraith Strike ability. From there you can engage the enemy, and due to the low cooldown you should be able to get 2, sometimes even 3 Soul Rips in before you possibly will need to re-engage a mob to actually sustain yourself. If you're clever, you can work your way around picking on individual minions or heroes. However, doing this I would say will require the help of a support. That being said, he is very, very powerful against tanks due to his passive ability. It quite simply is the more health they have, the more damage he does. However, if you are up against a support, be prepared to either fail completely or sustain heavy damage in the fight itself. They have more sustain than you. You may do a bit more damage, however your passive won't really take too much of an effect simply due to the fact that they have less health. Bust out really there, as well as where they can heal themselves for a greater quantity than you can as well. So not only are you not dealing your full potential in damage, they can heal greater amounts, so you will possibly fail in that respect. Up against other assassins, this also does lead to a problem. Typically, one-on-one, hit for hit, other assassins can deal more damage than Malthael. Where Malthael's main damage type comes from, it's from his passive. Other assassins, such as Butcher, don't need that. They can just hit out like a truck. Chromie as well is a very serious problem. Greymane is a bit of a nightmare. He not only deals substantial damage when at range, he can also close that gap pretty quick and hit you very hard in the process. In all though, really, or what I have noticed, Malthael is near enough tailor-made to Auriel as Auriel is near enough tailor-made to Malthael. The more damage you can do as Malthael, the quicker Auriel can build up her regeneration mana thing, which is perfect for an assassin in general because it is based off how much damage they deal. You can go as a full supportive role and pick the talent with Auriel where she can also gain energy from damage taken on her trait picked companion. However, it's typically done by the amount of damage the ally she has selected does. With Malthael that works really well because he does kick out a lot of damage, and obviously due to that fact Auriel can then near enough spam her healing just to help Malthael in his sustain. Again though, that being said, there are other characters that probably can do it more effectively. I'm going to pick the 2 favourites here for me, Butcher being my favourite and Chromie being my wife's favourite. They again are more effective. You may notice here that I have an Auriel with me. I am building up her little mana bar quite rapidly, despite mainly attacking minions and occasionally a hero. I can build up her mana effectively. As always, with pretty much all characters, mass CC is a serious problem. With Malthael though, it is even more of a problem because he literally has no means of escape. You can utilise his tier 1 ability where you're able to pass through enemies. However, as I have already stated, that doesn't always seem to work out as well as you would plan. Also, it does still mean that you can be attacked. It simply is you can pass through them. That doesn't mean their attacks pass through you as well. Their attacks still hit. Now there are some assassins which Malthael does excel against, Gul'dan being one of them, due to the fact that where he tries to heal, your passive pretty much overrides that. Also Thrall, however, from what I have noticed, that seems to be a case of whoever hits first wins. If you can get the jump on Thrall from where he's got pretty good survivability and quite a lot of health, you can whittle him down. However, he does have CC, he does have a base heal, he can still wreck you if you are not careful. So that's another one you need to be wary of. But as already stated, against most tanks you can pretty much take them out. However, you will notice in a lot of games you do get focused. Tanks are the front line of any team. The tanks typically going first. The majority of the time they've got a pretty good bit of CC, so you aiming for their tanks tends to draw a lot of attention towards you. That being said, Arthas, or not Arthas, Artanis, just stay away from him. He can outmaneuver you, out CC you, pretty much out damage you, and that shield is a nightmare. So you're basically, all of your damage is purely coming from your passive, which on its own is not enough to do it. The damage Malthael does comes from his abilities, his actual basic attacks hitting, as well as the passive in total. If one of them fails, his damage seriously lacks. This is where Artanis can just chisel you down, maneuver around you, and just pick you off like the little squealing angel you really, really are. It can be problematic, however, if you are able to whittle him down, do not be afraid to get in there with your ultimate to pick him off. He is a dangerous threat to any team, so just go for it. On that note, Artanis also does make a great companion for Malthael due to the fact that he can maneuver enemies towards you, which keeps them in range, as well as the fact that you can keep applying your passive. Anyway, that's me. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope I've given you a few little pointers, perhaps. If not, oh well. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Have fun. Ta-ra.